And first of all, before I go into this bill, I think it's important we put on record, I want to thank many people in my community. That's not just the health workers, the frontline workers, the people who are doing so much, but the families that are going through a lot by remaining under stage 4 restrictions in their home and doing everything they can to try and do the right thing, because they do believe in their community, they do believe in the safety of people in their community, and as I said, many within that community are doing the right thing. Where I want to start today, Speaker, though, is we've got a government that is trying to venture out and get more power for themselves, and if you want to look at the trust, if you want to look at the things they are looking to do, we've seen this week with leaked documents around a plan to keep Victoria locked down for longer. We've seen a Victorian plan to keep Victorians locked down longer, and that is a real concern to me. It is a real concern to many in my communities, including the businesses. And whilst the Premier goes out and says he can't release his roadmap until Father's Day, until this Sunday, and trying to impede his knowledge on everybody during Father's Day about what he is going to do, they managed to come out and announce that they're going to introduce or move the grand final public holiday to another day on the 23rd of October. Now, can I assure you, Speaker, people in my electorate, small business operators, sole traders, people who have lost their jobs, and there is thousands of them, who can no longer work because of the actions of this government and the failures in the hotel quarantine that has seen the second wave wipe out so much in our economy, would be exceptionally angry that the Andrews Labor government has said, we want to give you another day off on the 23rd of October. The people I speak to in my community would give up Christmas this year if it meant that their businesses were going to survive. If it meant that the employees that they have within those small businesses are guaranteed to be coming back to work and getting our economic path on the road to the future. They would be actually thankful if we got rid of public holidays at the moment in those areas, because they have people in their businesses who don't have a job, who an exciting day out, which used to be going down and supporting our local businesses, is a dinner at McDonald's. That's the luxury at the moment because they cannot afford it. The people who have had to put their home loans on hold, the people who are at the moment cannot go into work. There's lucky ones out there, and they're the ones that can work from home. And generally, most within the public service have that privilege. People within councils have that privilege. But many industry groups out there, many people cannot work from home. And they have concerns about what is happening in this state. They have concerns that a government now wants to extend their powers and extend those lockdowns. And I look across the chamber and I see the member for Narre Warren South, and I say to every person in Casey, to every person in Cardinia, send an email to Gary and make sure that he hears your voice, because it is you who is stuck in your home. It is you that has this government voting to keep your kids at home, to slow and stop our education system. We understand we need a safe road to recovery. We understand that face masks are going to be something for at least the short future, if not the longer future. But let me assure you, everything in our state is not just this coronavirus. It is the impact on mental health. It is the impact on businesses. It is the impact on livelihoods throughout our state. And when I talk about the Gembrook electorate, it is the impact on one of the largest electorates in this state for people who are sole traders and our tradies who cannot do work at the moment. And when the government had come out with the coroner and spoke about the positive that our suicide rate was 2 below last year, they didn't take into consideration Patrick McGorry's comments around 33% increase in the amount of presentations of people with self-harm. If you're not sure what self-harm is, it is a cry for help. It is people in the community who are crying for help because they are struggling. It is people in the community who are not sure where to go. Not all of them will automatically ring up Helpline. Not all of them will ring Beyond Blue. Some of them are not sure what to do, and the way they do that is self-harm, and the next level from self-harm can end up as suicide. That is something that this government must consider. You must consider the impact on the mental health of people. For weeks now, I have been pushing that people who are locked up in their homes and they are a single person must must have a bubble where they can bring someone inside that bubble. It is simply not good enough in today's age that we turn around and go, you can Zoom or ring someone. I am sick of people on my Facebook telling me I am wrong when I talk about people who are home alone. And there's a whole world difference. And I'll use examples in my family so I can't get in trouble. My sister is home alone. She has 2 dogs and she has the ability to work. That is a whole world different to my father-in-law, who is home alone, who is not working and has no personal contact with anyone. We organised to get some food dropped off to him because he has trouble getting out of the house. I went and dropped that food off, and to see him, a strong man, a very strong man, nearly in tears because he doesn't have personal contact, is heartbreaking. That's my family. These stories are all over this state. The impact on people's lives is not just about the coronavirus. It's not just about the financial impact, but it's about the impact in their homes. I implore every person on the other side of this chamber. I look at you and say, don't be a sheep. Don't just follow what the Premier is saying to you. You're getting the emails. Yes, some will go out there and say there's a particular tinfoil hat brigade that are emailing a lot of us. And do you know what? I agree with you on some of those emails. I have no issue on that. But let me tell you, go through those emails and read some of those stories. Read the stories of where a mother has a child and can't go back in and visit them in the hospital. Read the stories of a single person at home who has no contact with anyone and is just begging for that. Read the stories of people who have their businesses and have totally and utterly lost them. And then think back to why we're in this second phase. And we're in the second wave of this virus because of an absolute failure from this government. All we've seen in the Coates inquiry so far is every person wanting to blame somebody else. All we saw in Payak is minister after minister after minister saying this is not my responsibility. This is somebody else's responsibility. If that's the case, if every minister genuinely doesn't know whose responsibility it is, or worse, one of them doesn't know it's their responsibility, the ultimate responsibility of that comes back to the Premier of this state. This would be the same in any business. In any business that fails in the state, if you fundamentally don't know why, you go back to the board and say, why was our strategy so wrong? Why didn't we communicate who has responsibility for what so when it fails we can fix it? Because the government were aware well and truly in advance of when they came out and spoke about this. There's email trails going back to the government, to ministers saying you are responsible, you have the advice and you have the information, the system is failing, and yet you refuse to call in the ADF. Do you want to know who I feel sorry for out of this now? The problem we're going to have is Andrew Crisp is going to be the one you're going to throw under the bus. You're going to throw under bureaucrats, people who are within the departments, and not one minister will take responsibility for the things and the failures that have happened. The Premier will stand up and say, I take full responsibility, and my responsibility is to sack those within the departments. Take responsibility and don't give yourselves more power. Don't change the Act so much so and then go out and lie and say to the Victorian people that all we're doing is extending the state of emergency. You're not just extending it. This government is adding additional powers. They're giving a power to the Chief Health Officer to close down this place because debates like this can hurt you. Debates like this can hurt the Labor Party because it fundamentally puts on record the failures of the government and the sheep on the backbench over there who refuse to stand up. The member for Narre South and the member for Narre North, who's in the Cabinet, and the member for Cranbourne failed once in Payak to ask a question about sole traders or tradies, the major voters for them in their electorates. Didn't once ask a minister about what they are doing. That's a failure of your duty. I call on the government to support our amendments. I call on the government to make some genuine changes. I don't say we need to do nothing. I know we need to have a plan, but it needs to be a safe plan for the future. But I call on you mostly to turn around and have the compassion of people who are at home, single, by themselves, for the businesses, and to ensure that we can rebuild our economy safely. that we can make sure people in their homes have the opportunity for social interaction, and we can get schools back to school. Because at the end of the day, it's about people, it's not just about us in here.